Hello and welcome to Athletic Therapy Now, a podcast for athletic therapists by an athletic therapist. My name is Ashley Burr and I will be your host. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to episode 14 of Athletic Therapy Now. We are speaking with Paz Mukikala from On-Field Therapy. Paz has been a certified athletic therapist since 2019 with a Bachelor of Kinesiology from the University of Toronto and a Bachelor of Science in Athletic Therapy from the University of Winnipeg. She's a self-proclaimed unserious adult who resides in Toronto, and she has experience on the sidelines with various sports, including rugby, tackle and flag football, volleyball, and soccer. If she's not working, she's keeping busy or traveling. Where's your favorite place you've traveled to?
Ooh, that's a good question. Spain on like a cousin's trip. Yeah, Spain on a solo trip. Cabo,
Mhm.
girl trip to Cabo was good. Yeah.
Nice. I spent a little bit of time in Spain. I really enjoyed all the tapas.
Oh my gosh, I had tapas every day. I had paella every day. All we did was eat. The whole time we were there was fabulous.
Yeah, when I was there was some firework festival. And
Oh,
so, it was this huge event with that everybody just seemed to know about. There weren't flyers or anything anywhere. It was just this huge thing where you would literally go from bar to bar with your drink, and then you would get a new tapa at a different restaurant. It was crazy. And then it finished off with these amazing fireworks shows every
ooh,
single night. They lasted like
okay.
20 minutes. It was crazy.
I need to find that, and I'm gonna send it to my cousin, and I'm gonna go back to Spain, and we're gonna do it again.
I think it was probably in August sometime.
Okay, what city?
Oh, was it San Sebastian, maybe?
I'll figure it out. My cousin's
Yeah.
she's gonna deep dive and find it.
This
I'm
was
adding
like
that to my
20
travel list.
2013, so this was a long time ago, 11 years ago now. Wow.
They might still have it, the Spanish like a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. All right, so, the question I ask everybody, Paj, is, in one sentence, can you share your favorite thing about being an athletic therapist?
Mm, it would be seeing people do things they didn't think they were capable of.
I love that.
It's like like you see them stare at you and they're like, what you're asking me is not tangible. And you look at them and like, no, what I'm asking you is very much possible. And then seeing the joy on their face when they get that, that's one of my favorite things for sure.
Yeah, I love that too, especially you get a client in. Typically, usually it's an older adult, older lady, and I'm like, "Okay, go pick up those 20 pounds." And they're like, "What?" "No, no, you got this. You can pick up 20 pounds."
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they do it, and then they just feel amazing and excited about what they've done. So,
The best thing ever.
it really is. So, I brought you on today because I have been seeing your posts about on-field therapy for the
Mhm.
last, I'm going to say it's probably been like 6 months or however long you've had your Instagram for. It just keeps
Yeah.
popping up on my feed. Started following you, and I had some friends and colleagues ask me about on-field therapy and if I knew anything about it. And so I
Mhm.
thought I would invite you on the podcast and we could just chat about it a little bit. So, to start, how did you come up with on-field therapy? What was the inspiration there?
Um, the inspiration was frustration, truthfully. Um, because I did my AT in Winnipeg. Once I came back to the GTA, I didn't have a big network of athletic therapists that I can lean on or look towards if I needed help with field work because I was working with the team at the time. The real inspiration came it was last year. I had a bachelorette trip, a family trip, and then a wedding to attend. So I had to take 3 weekends off for my team, hell and high water to find somebody to cover the game because it was the middle of the rugby season. Everybody that I knew was already assigned to a team. Everybody else was either busy or working another field event, and I like asked the coaches, I'm like, "Do you guys, if you guys know your network of AT, tap into them." I asked the athletes like to talk to ATs that they knew. Still took forever to find someone to cover these games. And this is I was giving the team like 2, 3 weeks notice because I knew these dates were coming up. And I was like, there has to be an easier way because there's the Facebook page, there's the Slack group, there's you texting everybody you know, but like, there has to be something easier that can be simple for us to help find coverage for ourselves, but also for other teams to find ATs if they don't know where to go. And that's where the idea came from.
That's really cool. I feel like a lot of really neat ideas are built from frustration and stress and anxiety, and so really cool that you came up with that. How how did that how did that start out, and how did that become what it is now? So after you decided that you needed to find a way to make things easier, what was
Yeah.
your first steps?
Um, at first I thought about a website, and then I realized if it's something that's going to be mobile and easy, it has to be an app. So I reached out to one of my friends who's a computer engineer who also has an app as to like how I can go around to build this without it costing an arm and a leg. And then he let me know about some of these platforms that are either like minimal cost or low cost, but they don't require any coding because I can't code if my life depended on it. So it's like it's minimal coding. It's basically drag and drop. Like you build your own thing. I went through, oh, rewind. Before that, January, opened a notebook and I was like, okay, if this is going to be a thing, let me flesh it out. Wrote it out, designed the pages, designed what I wanted each profile to look like, sort of a rough draft of what I wanted it to look like, and saw that it was tangible, it made sense. So then I asked my friend, and then he sent me the links, and I did 3 different builds on 3 different platforms before I landed on the one that I have. So I did that, had the website, tested everything out. I tested myself. I had a few AT friends play around with it and test it and see if there were any bugs. And then I launched the website, and then it proceeds to launch the apps. That's a whole different process. You have to touch base with each of the App Store, the Google Play Store. They have to go through their own verification process, which is why it took a little longer for the apps to come out. Um, and that's yeah, that's how I got around to it. There was a lot of testing, a lot of debugging. I had to hire a coder twice to fix a couple of things that I couldn't figure out myself. Um, Marketing figured out like what websites to use in regards to pushing emails, how to design things, what to pay for, all of that. Yeah, so that's how we got where we are.
That sounds like a ton of work. Good for you. That's super
So much.
impressive, and such an amazing thing to come out. I know in Manitoba we have, I mean, our association just sends out emails almost weekly with a list of here's all the things that you can sign up to work, but
Yeah,
that's as far as it goes.
yeah.
So this sounds like it's a step kind of beyond that. I don't know if does the Ontario Association send out emails, or no, because it's too broad of a place to.
To my knowledge, when I was with them, not in regards to work. So maybe volunteer opportunities and courses. Um, Job opportunities were usually full-time things, but nothing like sort of like the, for lack of better terms, casual gig side of field coverage, which what it could be in the summertime or throughout
Yeah,
the year.
makes it tough. Yeah, I always see all the posts on Facebook, the Facebook page,
Yeah,
and
and there's 3 of them. I don't know if you're on all of them, but there's like 3 or 4 of them. And what I realized with Facebook is it doesn't put them in order. So somebody you can see a post today that was put on like 3 days ago. I don't know what Mr. Zuckerberg is doing with the algorithms, but nothing's in order, which makes it hard to find things. Which is one of the things I wanted to do with the app. It's like have everything organized. So when you go on the event page, everything is ordered by date. So you see the most recent event at the top, and then the further you go down, like the further out the event is.
yeah, I popped on there today because I as soon as I asked, or right before I asked if you wanted to be on the podcast, I signed up for your website, and I wanted to pop on and kind of see what it was about. And so I popped on again today to see, and there was like one for Saskatchewan coming up,
Yeah,
and then a whole bunch for Ontario. Which I liked that it was organized. Like it was
yeah,
Saskatchewan's in 2 weeks, and everything else was here's your dates
yeah.
closest to furthest away. And so that brings me to my next question.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, I saw a whole bunch of in Ontario. I saw one for Saskatchewan. Is this something that's available to therapists across Canada, or you plan to have it available to therapists across Canada, or mostly just Ontario? How does
So
that work?
it is originally I wanted to launch it in phases. So I originally wanted to start with Ontario one because I'm based out here and I also know the demand of what fieldwork can be when all the sports are going at the same time. And then I couldn't because it's tough to do that with the app stores. So I decided to launch it Canada wide. It is available Canada wide on um, the Apple the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It just so happens that I guess for some reason either there are more ATs on it that are from Ontario, um, or it's just there are more events that are being hosted that are from Ontario. Um, a lot of it, I guess, has to do with the marketing, and I've worked on that. I've pushed emails to all the provincial chapters, as many sports organizations as I can, provincial, regional teams. Like I've emailed teams directly to get the information there as much as I can, just to have them join the network too. But yeah, I've seen most of it in Ontario. I think there was a couple in Quebec a while ago. There's some in BC, I think that popped up a while ago too, but it seems to be mostly Ontario and a little bit of BC that's there. And I think it's just the way the way people are using it right now. So
Yeah, and I suspect, I mean, like I said, in Manitoba, we already have that kind of relationship with a lot of the sporting teams with our association.
yeah,
Ontario doesn't have that same, either just the I suspect the large province makes it difficult.
yeah.
Um, but also I think if my numbers are if I remember correctly, Ontario is like 50% of all the athletic therapists in Canada. So it's,
It-
there's a lot more
That
ATs in
sounds right.
Ontario. Yeah.
That sounds right. And team wise, there's just so many teams. Like I was doing the marketing emails, and I think when I landed on football, no, not football. I think it was basketball. There was 150 teams in Ontario alone.
Wow.
And this is like we're talking rep level teams, like young kids, nothing adult level. 150 teams alone. Like that's a lot. So there are a lot. Population's bigger. There are more sports teams, so there will be more events. We do have a big amount of ATs over here, so it makes sense that a lot of the events that pop up would be from Ontario for now.
Yeah, that's cool. So mostly Ontario, but you still have sports popping up, therapists, events across all of Canada. Can
Yes.
you explain the process of how this works for athletic therapists? So, kind of like a step by doesn't have to be step by step, but from when the therapist registers and they're what they need to register, and how it works for getting on with a team or an event.
Okay. So when you register as a therapist, the things that it will ask you for is your certification number, your CATA certification number, and your first responder certificate. And the reason I wanted to do those two as verification, besides personal information, so your name, email, yeah, your name, email is all the personal information, CATA certification number, and first responder certificate. Um, one, because the only way for me to verify that people are in good standing is by using CATA's insurance database. So I use that. That's why I asked for the certification numbers. No one else has access to the certification numbers. It is completely blocked. You can't see it besides yourself and me. And then the first responder certificate, because I know a lot of ATs don't do field work. Some people just do clinic. So to make sure that people are up to date with most of the higher skill set for the emergency response side, I need to make sure that everybody has a first responder. So that is also in there. When you fill everything in, an email gets sent out to me that an account has been created. And then I have admin access where I double check that everything is correct so that your CATA number is valid and that you're in good standing with CATA, that your first responder certificate is valid and is not expired. And then I approve your account. Once your account is approved, you have all access. The way it works on the therapist side is when an event is added, you get a notification that says an event has been added. It gives you the city, the date, and the time of the event. When you log into your account, if you're not logged in, you go to the event page. All the events are listed there in order of date. And then if you want the event details, you click on the event. It gives you all the details, location, pay, how long the event is, if you have lunch, all that jazz. And then there is a messaging feature. So you can actually click on chat with, I think it's called, or it's maybe just the person's email, of the person who put the event on. And then you can chat with them in the app to get more details. So it's like, how early do I have to be there? How many therapists do you need? Am I going to have supplies? All that stuff can happen in the chat in the app instead of going back and forth via email or via phone number, whichever way you decide to communicate. Um, once an event has been, once the organizers decide, okay, this is the therapist I want, they can actually assign the event to a therapist. So you get the prompt of this event has been assigned to you, and then it gets removed from the available event page. So the events you see on the events page are only the ones that are available, and the ones that haven't been covered yet. Once it's been covered or assigned or it has expired, meaning the date has passed, it comes off the page. And yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
That's really cool. So you get to kind of you see what's going on, you see the events, you can click on it, you can have a conversation, but the event manager, I guess, or the sports team is the one that gets to choose whether or not they want that therapist as their therapist.
Yeah.
And then how does it work if somebody's so you an athletic therapist works the event? How do they get paid after that?
So that has nothing to do with the app. That is between them and the organizers.
Okay.
So the organizers will list like how much the pay is or what they're going to pay for the event, but it is amongst it's between the therapist and the team manager, director, whoever, to discuss amongst themselves or confirm what pay is and confirm how they will be paid. None of that goes through the platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you when a sports team signs up, is there recommended pay fees or
There isn't, and it's something that I've thought about adding. Um, and that's more work that I have to do on uh, the back end is I actually have to touch base with each province and see what their average suggested pay is. Because from what I've heard, it varies based on where you are. So I can't put like a standard on that people in Ontario are like, oh, this is great. And then people in Saskatchewan are like, oh, this is too high. So it's, I need to touch base with all the regions, have them send me that information and add it um, because it varies per region, it varies per sport, um, it varies per experience. So if there was a national standard, so like if CATA had a bracket of this is what we suggest pay is across the board, I would have used that. But because each province sets their own, it's a matter of talking to everybody, see what their numbers fall, and then put that as a suggestion as an added page to the app.
it just makes it a little bit more complicated?
Yeah, because it'd be easier if it was the same across the board, but it's not. And I've heard and I've seen that it's not the same across the board. So that is, but that's something that I've been asked about a couple of times, and usually at the end of the day, it really is up to the teams to determine what funding they have in regards to how much they want to pay the therapist, and also it's up to us as therapists to see what we're willing to accept.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's nice that they have that flexibility, like
Yeah.
therapists and sports teams, right? So they can kind of put
Yeah.
feelers
Yeah.
out and see. It's cool. Um, what's the most important thing for an athletic therapist to know when they're looking at joining on-field therapy as a member?
That I say the most important thing is that they have to have a valid first responder. I've had there's quite a few pending accounts that I have, and it's either because um, people haven't completed their profiles, so half the information's missing, um, or they don't have a first responder, they just have like BLS, or some of them I can't find them on CADA's insurance system because they haven't made themselves searchable.
Oh,
Yeah, so when they updated, I think they sent like 2 or 3 emails about this, but when they updated their website, it changed the setting for some people, and some people just haven't realized and haven't searched it. I didn't know until a patient emailed me, and they're just like, "I can't find you in this database." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I went back, and it changed the setting for some people when they did the updates for the website. So they need to make sure that they're searchable on that so I can verify that they're in good standing. Um, and they have to have a valid first responder. Because I think now that's CADA's criteria, I think, for everybody after 2019, 2020.
hmm. I can't remember when it changed, but sometime after COVID, they made it like a for sure
Yeah,
change
for
that you
sure
had
you
to have
had
it.
to have it, yeah.
Yeah,
So that also lines up with them for that aspect.
yeah, yeah. I believe it's a yearly first aid, and then every 3 years is the first responder.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just redid my BLS. It was a good 4 hours. Good time.
I did um my first aid. I redid it at a place. It was for the first time ever. I didn't do it through the university, just the timing of things. And
Yeah.
it was painful to not do it through the university. Um it was weird. It was mixed in with people who were taking their first aid for the very first time and people who were redoing it. And
Oh,
then I'm so
no.
used to Ben and his way of teaching, um, where there is a wrong way to do things, and there is a wrong way in first aid. And this instructor was like, and I'm not going to say where it was, and I'm not going to shoot down the instructor. But essentially, it was like, yeah, like if somebody's choking, like use your discretion. Like you don't have to call an ambulance. You
Excuse
can.
excuse me? Excuse Oh, no. Oh,
And
they need to
so
fix that.
I'm sitting there with a colleague of mine, Nikki Smith, and she's in Winnipeg as well. And we're just writing notes back and forth to each other. Like, do we say something? Do we not say something? And I am pretty sure we were the biggest pain in the butts of um that teacher because
Oh,
like
no.
there were some things we just left, but
Yeah.
I would say at least 6 or 7 times Nikki or I put our hands up and we're like, no, you're wrong. Oh, it
It's not
was
how it
yeah,
works.
it was painful. It was
Oh,
yeah, it was
no.
not a your typical first aid. But I have other friends and colleagues who have redone their first aid at the same location and they had a good experience. So maybe it was just a one-off. Maybe it was her first time teaching. I don't know. Um, but
It's
yeah, yeah.
it's
All I
the
know is
least
that yeah,
that's where it went wrong.
yeah,
That
yeah.
oh, well, at least you got it done.
Yeah, I will never not do a university course again. It'll have to be that from now on.
Well, is it not split for? Because there's the BLS and the first aid. If you do the first aid CPR healthcare practitioner one, it's just like medical stuff. The last course I did had a nurse, a dentist, and someone who worked in a mental health facility. It was pretty much it, and I was like, "Oh my god." Went through it pretty fast, but yeah, no, not your experience. Yours
This
not
class had almost 30 people in it.
no, no, no.
One
That's too many.
instructor and an assistant and um yeah, no corrections on people who were doing CPR wrong
Oh,
or yeah, I just hope that none of those people actually go into jobs where they actually need first aid because it will not end well.
it was a basic first aid course?
Yes, just your basic first aid,
Okay,
not first
okay,
responder, just your basic first
okay,
aid.
okay.
Um, there wasn't. HCP portion to it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's whatever we need for our certification to stay up, which I thought everything was equal, and it's not. They're not all equal
No,
courses.
no, there's like
No.
7 levels. It's absolutely insane when you look into it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. But that's my little fun story about my course of, how it's yeah.
oh, that's hilarious. Oh, no, that's a good one. Wow. I would've shout out to you for making the corrections because I would have done the same thing.
And I was not that person in university. I was never confident enough to put my hand up and ask questions
Yeah,
or anything like that. But the further I get into my career, the more I feel confident in, you know, sticking my hand up and speaking up and having those conversations and
yeah,
kindly calling people out on things
kindly.
that are
That's
blatantly wrong.
kind. As long as you do it kindly, they will not find offense, hopefully.
No, 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 they were very excited to get Nikki and I out of there.
As quickly as possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for meeting today. It was great getting to know you a little bit more and
You're
getting to
welcome.
understand all of this about on field.
Mhm.
I had one last question. We chatted about this a little bit beforehand,
Yeah.
but I'm going to bring it up again because it's been something that has been asked by colleagues of mine. So,
Uh-huh.
when we're asking for when we're talking with the coach about getting paid,
Yes.
is there a pay split between on-field therapy and the therapist working the event?
No, I do not take any of it, which is why the platform is free for now. If there is a fee that will be introduced, it would be for people to post either on some type of per post or maybe a subscription for like 6 months or the year. And that would all go towards running the app. So all the softwares that I use have to be paid for. The app software is one thing, the emailing software is another thing, the marketing is something else. So all for it to essentially pay for itself. And then if there is profit from that aspect, that is where I would take from because I run everything by myself. Um, but no, nothing would be coming from people's pay. Whatever you negotiate is what you're gonna get. I don't touch
That's very generous of you.
that. Listen, people gotta make money. Why am I gonna tap into theirs?
So do you.
That is very true. I'll figure it
Yeah,
out. But yeah, no. Whichever pay they agree on, that's all theirs. But wanting to expand on that a little bit, um, I am looking to add a feature later where people can get paid through the app. It's a little more complicated to set up than I thought because it has to do with invoicing and everything. But it is something that is in the works and would probably be added, I'd say maybe in the next year. Like it wouldn't be anytime soon, but it is something that's at the back of my mind to facilitate pay um, for everybody within the platform. So that's something that I've thought about. We may add.
really cool. Kind of like a pay your Uber driver type of thing.
Essentially,
Have them
yeah.
pay
Like
them.
booked in, just tap it, pay, invoices get sent. It's a whole different software that needs to be added into the mix. So it's something I'm thinking about. I'll dig into, work on. If it works and it makes sense, then in about a year or so, maybe add it in.
It's real cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
So it's a self-funded program. It's a self-funded app.
Yeah. It is to assist the people. It is to assist the teams. It's to assist therapists because I know a lot of people just they like doing field work, but they don't want to tie themselves to a team. So
Hmm.
it's more like let me pick up sporadic gigs when I have the time, whether it's a tournament here or there. And then most of it is really just for like last minute coverage. It's you're working with the team, but you're going on vacation, so you need the day off, or a team's doing a tournament and they usually don't travel, but they're traveling. They don't have a therapist. It's one offs like that that it's made for.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So I'm just going to sum that up real quick. And please correct me or interrupt me if I misunderstood anything.
Yeah.
So, on field therapy was really something that just came out of frustration, frustration from not being able to find coverage or find somebody to sub for you when you had to go out of town. And it sounds like there isn't really any platform in Ontario that allows for that except for Facebook. But Facebook is very, the algorithm where it doesn't allow you to see everything. You can't track it. You can't find it. You have no idea what's going on there. um, I say you, really, I mean me. Uh, and then initially you wanted to start this just in Ontario, but just the way technology is, it ended up being Canada wide, which is still really
Mhm.
cool. You've had everything from Quebec all the way out to BC, but most of the events do end up in Ontario. And then the process of getting on is as an athletic therapist, you need your CATA number, you need your first responder. Once you've registered, it takes, I mean, I think when I registered, it was a couple hours, but you have time, right? Like you have to go on and actually check it. So it could take a day or
Yeah.
two or business day or two.
Yeah.
Um, and then once you have access as a therapist, then you can see all of the events. If an event pops up, you can take a look at the date, place, location, and then you can click on it, message the coach, chat a little bit, and if the coach likes you, if they like a job interview, right, through text message. So
Basically.
if if they want you to work their event, then they'll assign you as their therapist, and then anything from there on out is on the therapist. They have to figure out um, any additional information and the pay,
Yeah.
and have that agreed upon, and then um, in the future you're looking at potentially adding a Uber app style pay system where the coaching staff can just pay, or the event staff can just pay the therapist through the app,
Mhm.
just to kind of streamline things a little bit. But that's a whole other ball game, and sounds like it's a lot of extra work, um, and complications to try and figure out how to do that. And then one of the biggest things you said that you wanted therapists to know before joining or when they're joining is just, make sure that you're searchable on the CATA list, and then also that they have a valid first responder, because they might not, which is surprising at this point because I think it's mandated now. But or maybe they just
And
haven't uploaded it, or I
yeah,
know
sometimes.
I've run into that in the past where I have uploaded my documents wrong. Um,
Oh, we all do that.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at almost 20 years of documents and first responder documents, and so, sometimes I upload the wrong one apparently. I don't know how it happens, but, you know, it is what it is.
It is what
Cat
it
is
is.
Cat is very generous. They understand that I click the wrong button and they just pop it on there and I'm good to go. I had one year, uh, I forgot to upload documents. I thought I had done it. And I get this email and it's like, you no longer are certified.
You're like, "Wait, what?"
What? And I think it was a holiday, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and then the next
Oh.
day I was supposed to be at work, and I was just losing my mind. I was like, "Oh my god, I don't have a license. I can't work. I don't even know what to do." And,
Oh,
who was it? Helene, emails me back, and she's like, "No, it's fine. You're good. You're good. Like, just upload the documents today, and you're fine." It's like, "Thank
thank
goodness."
them for that grace period that they give us, because December
People do
31st to get everything in, it's not a great date, guys.
No, no. Well, it wasn't even that. It was like, I thought I did it. Apparently, I didn't click the button.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Oh my days.
Yeah. Um, did I sum that up?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you summed it up well. You got it all.
Perfect, perfect. Um, yeah, was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
No, no, just that I'm happy that my marketing is working. Like, you're like, "Yeah, people have asked me about it." I'm like, "Oh, that's okay, that's good." I'm liking that that's working, because I put a lot of work into that, so
Yeah, I don't do a ton of field work,
Yeah.
outside of football, and it's just the nature of it. Most of it runs I have an 8-year-old son, and most of the field jobs run just a little bit past pickup time or just before I drop him off
Oh,
at school. So I haven't done
yeah.
a lot of those odd jobs since he's no longer in daycare. And so I've stuck with football. That's the big
Mhm.
thing that I've done.
Yeah.
And so every time I just kept seeing your profile pop up and I was like, I don't want to do field. I don't want to follow.
I already have enough.
Go away. And then eventually, so it's so funny because like eventually it was probably like the seventh or 10th time that I saw a post from you, and I was like, okay, okay, I will follow it. And I'm glad I did because,
Oh,
maybe there'll be an event that pops up that isn't, at a time I just can't do it, right? But
yeah.
and it was good information. But the reason I say it's funny is because they talk about marketing where you have to see something, I think it's like 7 times before you really
Really?
make that choice to
Oh,
partake in an event or a course or something like that, right? So,
yeah.
I know for myself when I'm posting for courses, I feel guilty posting more than once. But then in the back of my head, I think of these moments where,
Yeah.
I see your posts over and over and over, and the first couple times I'm like, "No, I don't need it. I don't need it." And then eventually I'm like, "Okay, I give up. I'm gonna do it. I want to do it." Now I'm into it, right? So,
Yeah.
um, multiple messages out there really helps
Yeah.
to get it ingrained in somebody's mind and get that marketing going. So, your marketing is working.
Yay! I'm happy. I put so much work into it. Oh my gosh. Oh, it takes time. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to know that it's worked. It's good to know that people are talking about it, that people are asking about it. And if anything, they can always email me. The app has an email. It
Mhm.
all comes to me. Um, yeah, they can always email me, message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook. There's a Facebook page as well. There's ways to contact me if anybody has questions about anything that needs to be clarified. I am accessible.
Awesome. And I have that information, so I'll link all of that in the show notes.
Perfect.
And is there a preference or best way to get a hold of you through all of those social media platforms or email or
I'd say email would be the best, only because Instagram does weird things. I don't know if it's just me, but people will message me, no notification. And like 3 days later, I go check the account because I don't check it every day like I'm supposed to. And I see the notification. I'm like, what's going on? So email would be the best way because that comes straight to my phone. Instagram likes to do some weird things. Um, Facebook seems to be pretty immediate too, but Mark Zuckerberg owns all of it. So he messes up all these algorithms. Like, sir, it's not what we asked for. But yeah, email email would be the safest bet, and then second would be socials.
Perfect, perfect. Can you just for people who are listening, can you say what your social media, let's say Instagram pages are?
The Instagram page is at On Field Therapy. Uh, the Facebook page is On Field Therapy, and the email, we're just going to talk that in there, info at onfieldtherapy.ca.
Perfect. And yeah, you are not the only one. Instagram likes to actually hide my messages completely so I don't even see the message notification in that little top right corner. When I get a
Yeah.
notification, or when I get a message through there, I have to go into there and then in like the unknown list, it's not called that, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah, that
Like
like second
junk
or third
mail,
thing. Yeah.
essentially. Anytime I get a message from somebody that is not somebody I follow, it goes into
Oh,
my messenger junk mail on Instagram. Same thing with Facebook. I don't know how to change it. I try and check it every once in a while, but I often miss things for sometimes weeks. It's not good.
I don't know about Facebook. I think for Instagram, you might have to change your settings.
Possibly.
It's somewhere in like who can contact you directly or something like that. But then Instagram's been weird, so even changing that hasn't helped me.
No, no, it's all weird. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really nice to meet you and really nice to get to know a little bit more about you. And we'll hopefully see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for setting this up. Like honestly, thank you for for reaching out and getting this done. I like it. This was great.
Absolutely. You're very welcome.